Now, a KXAN News investigation.
This is the scene from Tuesday night of the third officer-involved shooting in Austin this year. Police are now doing an internal investigation. Ultimately, the chief decides if officers took the right actions. Tonight, KXAN investigates accountability and transparency when it comes to officer-involved shootings. Lead investigator Chris Willis uncovered major discrepancies in another case from 2 years ago. Chris, first we have to understand why police investigating shooting internally, someone else is looking at it too.
Yeah, and Austin's unique in that situation because we have what's called the police monitor. The intent is to enhance trust in APD to make sure when police investigate themselves, everything is on the up and up. And we can tell you the police monitor does an independent investigation. It even uses a panel of citizens who review everything. But you may never hear their findings. The city council has set it up that way in an agreement with the police union. Simply put, if the chief essentially clears the officer, nothing from the Citizens Review Panel or the police monitor can be released to the public. Critics say it is not a checks and balances system, and the family of Byron Carter Jr. says it's a cover-up.
You know, we were real, not only a father-son, we were like best friends, so.
Byron Carter Sr. doesn't know much about the night Austin police shot and killed his son 2 years ago. Shot 5 times, including once in the back of the head, Byron Carter Jr. was simply a passenger in a car. The officer who shot him, Nathan Wagner, admitted in his deposition he shot the wrong person. He was trying to shoot the 16-year-old driver.
I've never talked to anybody.
What do you mean never?
I haven't talked to anybody.
Nobody from the city called and said, Mr. Carter, we're sorry, your son's dead?
No, sir.
Your son was shot 5 times and he wasn't the intended target. We're sorry about that.
No, sir. No one's called.
And Carter believes no one will. That's because details of the case are being kept from the public. It seems the city of Austin does not want you to know. The secrecy is part of the meet and confer agreement between the city of Austin and the Austin Police Association, an agreement that created the Police Monitor's Office and the Citizens Review Panel back in 2002 to handle complaints against police misconduct.
We want to be as transparent as possible, but we are governed by the law just like everybody else.
What the mayor is referring to is a state civil service law that says if a police officer is accused of misconduct and discipline by the chief results in anything less than a single day of suspension, the details of the investigation are then kept secret.
Ultimately, if the chief makes a decision that he is not going to discipline, and I have made a different recommendation, or the panel has made a different recommendation, it's not public.
We tried to get Police Monitor Frazier to talk about the Carter case. She wouldn't do it, but our sources did. And they tell us the Police Monitor and the Citizens Review Panel found major discrepancies that the police investigation did not. In fact, the Citizens Review Panel actually recommended firing Officer Wagner. In depositions, both Officer Wagner and his partner, Jeffrey Rodriguez, admitted Carter and his friend were not committing any crimes when spotted. The officers were looking for car burglars and thought the two were suspicious. The officers said it was dark. They didn't use their flashlights and used the cover of the night and the element of surprise to sneak up on Carter and the juvenile driver. The officers also claimed the driver used the car as a deadly weapon and tried to run them over, claiming the car hit Officer Rodriguez at 25 miles an hour, dragging him under the car. Yet after the shooting, Rodriguez reportedly says, quote, "I've already been to internal affairs. We're going to get in trouble over this." And Officer Rodriguez reportedly suffered an Achilles injury after getting run over by the car at 25 miles an hour, backed up by the chief immediately after the shooting. Listen.
Fearing that his partner was underneath that vehicle, potentially being dragged.
But court documents filed by Carter's attorney in February of this year claim that the Achilles injury actually occurred weeks prior to the shooting. Records from a doctor on the night of the shooting claim, quote, "no deformity, discoloration, or swelling to the site. He has a minor abrasion and complains of pain in the right ankle that he states is the same pain as when he injured his Achilles tendon recently. Patient has no other injuries or complaints on head to toe."
We believe it's overwhelmingly clear that he was not hit by a car.
Attorney Adam Lowy is representing the Carter family in a lawsuit against the city and Officer Wagner. He says no discipline for an officer who shot the wrong person several times and killed him, a person who had not committed a crime, is absurd. And if the car was a deadly weapon, why wasn't the driver who lived held responsible?
Even though these allegations are made, this young man, the juvenile who was driving, was not indicted for a single crime.
Officers Wagner and Rodriguez were not indicted either. The Police Monitor's report and the Citizens Review Panel recommendation which our sources say called for Wagner to be fired, were not given to the DA or the grand jury to consider because that information is sealed. But no discipline is a decision Chief Acevedo stands by.
I'm going to make my decisions based on the law, based on the evidence, based on policy, and based on my professional judgment.
He stands by his decision not to discipline Officer Wagner, and if it were up to him, everyone would know everything.
What I don't like about not being able to release it is that it creates the police chief and the police department hiding something. There is nothing in any decision I make where I would want any piece that was part of that decision to not be released, because I stand by my decisions.
Chief Acevedo told me the Byron Carter case was the cleanest officer-involved shooting he has ever seen, and insists Officer Wagner acted professionally and appropriately. Again, the Citizens Review panel recommended to the chief that Wagner should be fired, but that was kept secret from the public. And in just the past few hours, we talked to Councilman Chris Riley, the only city council member willing to comment. He says the purposes of the Citizens Review panel would be better served by making its recommendations public. He hopes the ongoing negotiations will make that happen. And Robert, we have new developments to tell you tonight at 10 o'clock. The police union, as we mentioned, tells us that proposed changes to this whole thing are on the table, significant to the people of Austin, so we'll have those details tonight at 10.
And Chris, you know, a lot of people in Austin feel very strongly about government transparency.
Yeah, they do. And it is the city council that has the power to add more transparency to the police investigations. If you want to tell your elected officials how you feel about this issue, we've made that easy to do. You can contact your city council member on our website at KXAN.com. Robert.
Chris, thank you. We'll see you tonight at 10. And if you have a story tip for Chris and KXAN to investigate, send us an email to investigates@KXAN.com or call us at 512-703-5255.